The algorithm.
The algorithm.
The algorithm.
Praise the algorithm.
The algorithm.
The algorithm.
I am a slave to the algorithm.
The algorithm.
The algorithm.
This may totally bomb my channel and kill the algorithm, but I don't care.
The algorithm. We hear this word thrown around everywhere, but what exactly is it, and why are all your favorite creators so obsessed with it? For many creators, the way they talk about it would make it seem like it's some kind of drug. What are they talking about? The algorithm, put simply, is the set of programming instructions a platform follows to serve out content to its users. The goal of a well-designed algorithm is to optimize the user experience by showing content that will most likely be engaging and relevant to the viewer. In a system where the algorithm exposes only certain content to its viewers, it makes sense that creators would want to be making the content that gets shown, hence why they're so obsessed with learning how it works, in hopes of being the one that gets picked up. But chasing the algorithm doesn't come without consequences.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
In fact, some of these consequences are quite harmful to the creativity on the platform. With the YouTube algorithm being one of the world's most complex yes-men, it limits creativity by emphasizing replication, encouraging sensationalism, and by catering to YouTube's uneven and constantly changing policy. A policy that tries to appeal to the lowest common denominator. How many times have you seen people cover the same content in a day? How many times have you seen them use pretty much the same thumbnail? How many times have you seen both at the same time on your recommended? Let me know in the comments if that's ever happened to you. If you ever wonder why YouTubers copy each other, it's because it works. Do you think MrBeast or Hungrybox just enjoy opening their mouths for fun? Have you ever clicked on a thumbnail with a half-naked anime girl only to be suckered into watching someone's comedy sketch or arch installation guide? Come on, don't lie to me. We have had all of human history to understand how the brain reacts to certain marketing, and unsurprisingly, some things are just more effective than others. Am I faulting YouTubers for trying to get people to watch their content? No, unless it's blatant misinformation. The point of making content is for people to enjoy your creation. Of course you want to market it. But how you do it speaks volumes about your personality and priorities.
Oh, this looks like a perfect YouTube thumbnail. Right, this already. Just the person, up close, expression, thing on the side, relevant to whatever's going on in video. That's it. That's the secret to YouTube thumbnails. That's all they are. A while ago, you could get a lot more diverse with your thumbnails, but now YouTube's algorithm seems to really heavily favor thing and thing. It's making thumbnails so boring.
You can certainly use these tactics to make people click, but at what point does what you're doing become artistically limiting and make you disappear into the sea of creators that all do the same thing? Surely there are other equally effective and more creative ways to market your content to an audience. There are some people who make a certain title and thumbnail style part of their trademark, which I think is really cool, and it boosts their recognizability considerably more than if they were to just copy their friend's homework. In the short term, copying the style of other popular creators can convince a viewer to click on your video, but it does nothing to build your brand or bring anything new to the table. Let's look at two very popular tech tubers, for example, Marques Brownlee and Mr. Who's the Boss. They cover the same territory a lot, but you would never confuse them for each other. Why is that? This video clip from Film Booth explains it perfectly.
You see, there will only ever be one Marques Brownlee, and that means anyone out there who's just copying his style will only ever become a watered down version of him at the very best. So for Aaron to ensure he didn't ride in the MKBHD wake, he had to do something to differentiate. Aaron pretty much always starts his video landing in his seat, which gives it some energy. Then he points to the left and the scene moves with him, and then he points to the right and it happens again. And then items fly in from the side.
Both of them can occupy the same space because they are uniquely different. The production quality is comparable. Their videos contain substance. In many ways, they are on par with each other. This is what it takes to grow an audience. Unfortunately, the algorithm also cares about trends and popular topics. So even if you don't make any effort to produce quality and original content, YouTube will still throw you breadcrumbs, which, for some people, is enough to keep pumping out thoughtless and unoriginal videos.
A good video requires effort. When looking at the Pyrocynical situation, you see so many videos repeating the same point and you wonder why Turkey Tom's video stands out. It's because there's effort to put into the video. There's a flow, it's visually grasping, and there's something actually interesting to be said.
It's not just marketing tactics that people get rewarded for copying. The algorithm boosts content that's copied too.
I posted this June 18th. The biggest MrBeast copies on YouTube are at it again. Anna Oop, a month later, July 2022. Here's Anna Oop's thumbnail. Obviously, you can see she used the exact same pose of MrBeast.
Reaction videos and stolen videos oftentimes bury the original if the channel doing the exploiting is larger than the original creator. This commonly happens when big Twitch streamers watch your video on stream and basically re-upload it to their channel for double-dipping purposes. These types of videos obviously don't take creativity to make, but will still bring in thousands of dollars worth of ad revenue, which is kinda sad and a huge kick in the ass for people who spend any amount of hours to make that content. Although not nearly as easy to make as reactions, stolen ideas and uncredited work is also abundant on the platform.
Nothing in the description, no references here, but everyone just take a listen. And who is speaking at the beginning of this video? I hate people that waste food. Why do you have to waste food on TikTok? Am I on the Anna payroll now? Now I'm voicing your channel? I hate people that waste food. Why do you have to waste food on TikTok? See what I'm saying here? Obviously, it's common when you're making a documentary to reference people, maybe some sound bites, maybe you get like a quote from somebody, some eyewitness accounts, but come on, not even like a little pop tag with my name on it?
Uncredited work and stolen content is absolutely not okay and should not be promoted, but the algorithm doesn't know that, at least not the way we do. All the algorithm sees is that people are really interested in this video where some guy is eating chips in the corner of the screen watching a YouTube video, so it recommends it to millions of people. Similarly, aside from the really limited content ID system, the algorithm has no way of knowing if you stole something from someone else. Even if it wasn't just machine learning and did know, without any parameters in place, it would be rewarded for recommending that video if it fits the criteria of what people want to see. If people liked the content, stolen or not, the algorithm thinks this is what people are interested in seeing, and it recommends it, casting a shadow on other creators who make original good content. There's a whole series of videos from Dark Viper AU on reaction content and how it is ultimately harmful to the online creator marketplace, so if you're interested in the details or want more on that, I will link his series in the description. Seeing the same thumbnails and videos promoted over and over again isn't great for diverse and original content to thrive on the platform. In fact, it's rather disheartening when you have a banger idea for a video, and then during the research phase, YouTube recommends 7 other people who've done the exact same thing, and now your mind is poisoned and you don't feel so creative anymore. I've had this video in the works for weeks and I've been slow rolling it, and in the meantime I ran into this video by NerdSync. Funny enough, all the problems he expresses here is exactly what I struggle with. By getting recommended this video about YouTube's plagiarism problem, I felt like I couldn't make a video about this topic anymore myself, since now the optics would make it look like I'm copying him, even if that's not the case. I haven't even watched his video to completion, but I decided to continue making it when I heard him say this.
For a really long time on YouTube on this channel, I really did feel like if someone covered a subject that I also thought about covering, then that was it. That meant that I could never cover it myself. I don't know, I just feel like that's a mentality that I don't really agree with anymore. I feel like it's totally fine to not only watch other people who cover similar topics, but to also cover the topics yourself. If you have your own voice, if you have your own spin that you want to put on something, do it.
As a creator, it's your job to draw the line between borrowing ideas and making something from scratch. But I think you'll find that most people don't think about this very hard, because for them, it's not about adhering to fair use or making transformative content. It's about amassing as many views as possible. It's tough, but being a creator is to create things, not to redo them. So YouTubers are commonly roasted for being copycats, but they aren't as often called out for the second strategy in the stereotypical YouTuber playbook: sensationalism. This one is not as deplorable as straight-up content theft, but we have really succumbed to yellow journalism and turning everything into a soapbox about why the world will never be the same. This is not to be confused with people being passionate or satirical. When people are ironically playing things up for entertainment purposes, there's intent behind that. Some may disagree with me on this, but making all of your videos sensational without discretion is not a creative choice. This mostly comes from channels that cover news and drama, but I always find it funny that every time something juicy happens, everyone is suddenly an expert racing to get their video on the topic out first. And it clearly works. Some of the biggest and most profitable channels do this on the daily. It's really demotivating to see how successful it is, because it creates this process where people who had their start doing something creative end up, for lack of a better term, coasting in their career, because it's low-hanging fruit that they can churn out every day to a big audience. Quite frankly, I'm not interested in some guy who has no expertise on the topic stretch a single 2-minute article into 10 minutes for the sake of collecting on ad revenue. There's no point in playing telephone unless you're going to aggregate the information and provide meaningful analysis that isn't just, well, this sucks, or this was a good thing. If I want to know what someone said, I'll check their Twitter myself. If I want to know what happened in a video, I'll watch it myself. The original source required some type of creativity to make, but more than enough people think that there needs to be some middleman constantly sensationalizing everything that ever happens on the internet because the algorithm rewards them for it. I see the false dichotomy people incoming. It's possible to be sensational and creative. The problem I'm expressing is that people are using sensationalism to compensate for creativity. Many studies show that sensationalism and appealing to the negativity bias makes headlines more captivating, but when the website whose motto was "broadcast yourself" has become a cesspool for second-tier, uncredible reporters, it feels like we've taken this open platform for granted. To be clear, I don't really mind sensationalism on original content, but there's a line between a compelling hook for a handcrafted project and just saying dramatic things about the world because you feel like milking some low-stakes drama that day. The last thing on this list is really more of a YouTube problem than a creator one. YouTube as a company has motives that also complicate the ability to be creative on this site. The policy seems to be constantly changing, and it's never consistent on who becomes victim to the banhammer when a large group of different people toe the line. Talking about COVID, cursing in the first 8 seconds of the video, showing a gun on camera are all things that it seems like some people were allowed to do and some people saw heavy punishment for. Many times over, there are instances where some creators get targeted for certain content while others are allowed to do the same thing with no repercussions. And it just so happens that Markiplier is often one of those people who are left unscathed for whatever reason. Both with Moist Critical a couple years ago and more recently with Corey X Kenshin, Markiplier has chosen to call out YouTube for the discrepancy.
There's clearly an issue with improper application, or at least uneven application of YouTube's community guidelines. And moreover, there's a communication issue at the heart of it all.
There's also the issue of DMCA, where some creators see strikes and others don't, like with Nintendo's recent tirade on Point Crow and other Zelda content creators. For every creator they strike and copyright claim, there are thousands more that are completely cool to make that content, I guess. I understand they're the biggest ones, so it makes sense to cut down the tallest grass first, but this is really more of an issue of principle. And then you have things like news channels, which get artificially elevated in the algorithm and have different monetization and age restriction rules than normal creators. Vice News is allowed to teach you how to 3D print a gun and get paid for the content, but if anyone else thinks of even showing a gun on camera, they get pummeled into the ground. Even YouTube's priorities between long-form and short-form content are pretty unstable, so if you've gotten accustomed to making one or the other, you may fall on hard times if the opposite is trending. A bunch of people pivoted into shorts since YouTube seems so giddy about getting into short-form content, but since TikTok is under fire from US legislation and Instagram Reels is losing Meta tons of money now, Code Red is over at the YouTube HQ, so I guess all those creators can suck it? It's not easy to stay in line of what the policies want, and people who fall outside the scope of what is ad-friendly content often face an uphill battle. There are really interesting and talented people on YouTube, but it's really no shocker why they try to push people to their Patreon. They clearly can't rely on their new or old videos to bring in revenue if the platform operates on ads and knee-jerk reactions. This is something YouTube needs to come to terms with as a business. The video broadcasting model is not very profitable, I would imagine, so it's not like these changes suddenly put YouTube in the green. If YouTube wants to retain its status as the second most visited website in the world, it shouldn't be making the site a worse place to exist. Then again, who's going to stop them? It would be one thing if the algorithm was consistently neutral to creativity, whatever that looks like. But because it's designed to reward frequent uploads and popularity without substantial checks and balances, it fosters an environment where creativity is, in many places, a hindrance to growth because creativity requires time, effort, and does not afford the creator the same shortcuts as copying, stealing, stirring the pot, and sucking off the advertisers. There are many great things about YouTube. The fact that people can make a living doing what they love, the high production quality, education, and entertainment. Even the controversy makes for a good story every once in a while. But the backbone of YouTube is its algorithm, and without the right foundation, you create a dog-eat-dog world where no one wants to take risks. What would I like to see in the future for YouTube? I'd like to see less policy changes that turn the platform on its head, a better system that prioritizes original work rather than unethical shortcuts, and a population of creators who take pride in their role and recognize how important they are to the success of this website. It would be nice if the algorithm was more capable of cultivating a creative and entertaining environment, but even as a viewer, you can make this site a better place by continuing to watch and support people who make entertaining and original work. That being said, don't let your favorite creators get lazy. Hold them accountable if they start descending into content theft or misinformation. As someone who loved old YouTube but thinks new YouTube can be just as good, I plan to stick around and see where this goes. Also, sorry for the long period of silence between my uploads. This has been Clutch Factory, and I will see you next year.